As far as who was in Dallas, Texas on the day of the November 22nd, 1963, we have James Files, Charles Nicoletti, who was one of the top sub-bosses in the Chicago mob, and also Johnny Roselli. Johnny Roselli was the link between the mob and the CIA at that particular time.
I'm fixing to lose my fuel of fire, and at this point, either I shoot or I can put it in a suitcase and leave, one or the other. I took the shot.
At no time did the doctors at Bethesda call or touch base with the doctors at Parkland Hospital.
The third shot, which hit the president, he was hit for the first and the third. The second shot hit the governor. The third shot is a complete bullet. That wasn't shot at, and that rolled out of the president's head.
The autopsy doctor claimed that because the tracheotomy had been made horizontally through the wound, that they did not see any sign of an entry wound to the throat. Instead, there was a shot that went through Kennedy's upper back or lower neck, and that it exited through the throat. But they didn't actually see any evidence for that in the throat. They did see an entry wound in the back, but they were not able to track it more than a very short distance.
Once they arrived at the conclusion, and that was done already the day of the death, the day of the autopsy, that Lee Harvey Oswald was a sole assassin, then everything had to fit. That all the shots had to come from back to front, from right to left, and from up downward. And no matter what they had found, it was going to be squeezed in. That's what gave birth to the single bullet theory.
We have got to go over that information, realize that maybe certain mistakes were made. Maybe there were certain agendas that had to be taken care of for national security. Well, now is the time for truth.
I was sure that Oswald had been set up.
Lee told me the attempt to kill Kennedy would be Dealey Plaza because of the setup and the location of everything. It was just perfect in his consideration.
There were definitely 4 shots. There was one shot from the grassy knoll, and you can go to the exact spot where the shooter took the shot. And what's interesting about where they say the shot came from is exactly where Files stated he was standing.
As far as I can see at this point, the president has not been hit in the head at this time. I've seen the body lurch. I know he's been hit. How serious, I don't know. But my last instructions was we're going for headshot. If you have to take a shot, take it, but don't fire unless it's a necessity, unless you really have to. As I squeezed, take off my round, his head moved forward, I missed, and I coming right along the temple, just right behind the eye. I fired one shot only.
And then the shots came out, and that's when all hell broke loose.
I took the shell casing, I bit down on it. I took it out and I looked at it and I set it on the stockade fence. And there was an indentation from my teeth on the shell casing on the ridge by the orifice.
Since there has never been any publicity on the dents in the shell casing, and nobody knew what they were, it is impossible that James Files could have known that a dent mark was on the shell casing, unless he put it there himself.
I always felt a sympathy for Oswald. And I just don't feel it's right that he would be, or his children, should be stuck with that stigmatism, that's all.
Right now the count has gone up to 102 people have had one kind of mysterious death or another that were related to trying to get out the truth about the Kennedy assassination.
When the government investigates who assassinated our precious president, that we find out. And at the very least, if we can't find out, we tell the American people what we did find out during the course of the investigation and the reasons why we weren't able to find out exactly what happened. And that should have been done, and it wasn't done. And since the government was involved in trying to find it out, it remains very important that the truth be told to the American people.
I never chose the people to be killed. Somebody else elected John F. Kennedy to be killed. Whether it was a politician to be killed or whether it was a mob figure to be killed. I never chose the figures. Somebody else said they was wrong, said they did wrong. Just followed the orders. To me, it was like taking out the garbage.